Hi, welcome to this video again on based upon OCR Computing A-Level, and this one is based on F452, and we're going to look at explaining the need for good program writing techniques to facilitate the ongoing maintenance of programs, something that is in the F452 spec. Basically, obviously from F451 we know that once a program is written, that's not it. We are going to have to maintain it. Over time we might have to make changes to it. Now we need to make sure that we write our code, write our programs in a suitable way so that not only we could go and rewrite it or change it or alter it, maintain it, but someone else could potentially come in and maintain it as well. So if we have a look at this code again, you might have seen this before. It's the shopkeeper has 3 shelves problem. I'll just run it again quickly to show. So how many loaves do I have? If each shelf has 10 loaves, is able to hold 10 loaves. If I have 37, I will use all 3 shelves and I'll have 7 loaves left over. So a simple problem using a variety of techniques. Again, doesn't really matter if you don't understand the code at this point. What we're going to do is just have a quick look and decide if it's written in a suitable way to maintain. Now the first thing we should think about is the layout. Now this layout is okay. What we've got our declarations at the top. That's good to have them all in the same location at the top. And we've got a decent layout where we're indenting our code as necessary around the different constructs. So here we've got an if statement, and everything that's contained within this if statement is indented. That's good practice. Then we've got the else. Again, it's on the same line here, and then it indents again. This bit here isn't actually indented, so really what we should do is tab these two across. Now, it's up to you really if you wanted to keep them together. I sometimes like to separate. What you should do though is keep it consistent. If you're going to do it in one place, you should do it all the way through. Some people prefer to put the open brackets at the end here. Now I prefer to have them on the new line just so that I can see them easily. You might sometimes wish to spread it out like this a bit more. Totally up to you how you want to spread out your program, but as long as you keep it consistent and the layout is good, it makes it easier to read. That's the key point. Makes it easier to read. This helps us find errors in the programs quickly and modify the programs quickly as well. Makes it a lot easier for someone else to come and edit your code as well. Just quickly, let's have a look what it would look like if we didn't have indentation and if we didn't lay it out properly and someone just laid it out like this. Now we can already see it's getting really difficult to read. So that is a bit of a mess, to be frank, and trying to pick out an error in there. Imagine if we had a semicolon missing somewhere and our code looked like this. It'd be almost impossible to find, or it would take a long time at least. So let me just undo that, get back to where we were before. Right, there we are. Okay, so that's one of the first things we should be doing, is laying it out in a suitable manner. Right, the other thing that we should be doing is using suitable identifiers. Now, if you don't know what an identifier is, then I suggest you watch the video based around identifiers. But essentially, anything that is given an identifier should have a suitable name. Now, this program is fine. We've got shelves, we've got number of loaves, we've got shelves used, loaves left, all suitable identifiers. For anything like constant, procedure, function, variable, should all have suitable identifiers. Now, we could use A, B, C for identifiers. That is when we start to get a program that is difficult to maintain, because if someone comes in, they don't know what A, B and C are, it's very difficult to see if the mathematical calculations within the program are correct. Already looking at this, I'm getting confused. I don't know what's going on. C in A means nothing to me. So when I'm trying to maintain my own program, it means nothing to me. If I was trying to maintain someone else's program, it would mean even less. So that is something we should be looking to do, is use meaningful identifiers throughout our program. Right, the last thing that we should really be doing, that I haven't mentioned, is we should be commenting our code, and it's not done here. So all the way through, in C++, what you do is a couple of forward slashes, but we should be commenting our code. So assign the value of shelves to a shelf to the shelf constant. Gives us a little reason for whatever this line is. Now we could do it for every line, or we could do a group of them for several lines. So in this case, I can do this and say declaring and initializing the variables. Now, if it wanted to go on more than one line, not a great example because there's not much comment in there. If I wanted to go more than one line for a comment, I could. Alright, and then you might lay it out a little bit like this. So here I should have something like output prompt for user, ask input, user should input the number of loaves they have. Check to see that the number of loaves is less than the number of shelves available. And this is a check to see if this works. If the number of loaves is less than the number of shelves available, and then this will introduce an error check. I'm not going to go through the whole code here because that's not the purpose, but as you can see, writing in comments like this help. Okay, and then you go through the whole code and write comments like that. That means when you come back to it, it makes it a lot easier for you to maintain the program, maintain your code. Again, if you want another programmer to come in and maintain, then it would make it a lot easier as well for them. Equally, if you are working on a program and you go away for the weekend, or you go on holiday and you come back, comments saying where you're up to, comments explaining it, make it a lot quicker and easier for you to get through and understand where you're up to and what you're supposed to be doing. Almost it. Just one more thing I think I should have said as well is the reason you should be using suitable identifiers like this as well is a couple of things. One, if you're sharing code with someone else, you need to make sure that you're both using the same identifiers. So that's important. If two of you are working on a project where you're using different functions, but you're sharing functions, then you need to make sure you have the same there. One more thing, again, I mentioned consistency, but not with regard to identifiers. If you're going to write them all in lowercase, then write them all in lowercase. If your constants are being written in uppercase, all constants should be written in uppercase. Sometimes you might see a case of this, where you have a lowercase initial letter and then every new word starts with a capital. Again, there's no real right or wrong way. Depends on the business you're in, depends on the programming language sometimes you're using, depends on your own personal choice. Just make sure you keep it consistent throughout. Okay, hope that helps. Thanks for watching, and please come back and watch some more.